Chloe Carter, a 25-year-old art teacher, radiated creativity and warmth. From her cozy home in the suburbs of San Francisco, she crafted handmade accessories, a childhood passion she turned into a thriving online business. Her days were filled with vibrant colors and intricate designs, providing a much-needed escape from the complexities of her personal life. Despite her artistic success, Chloe's marriage to Hudson, a 29-year-old site engineer, was anything but harmonious. Hudson was meticulous about his career, often prioritizing work over family. His demeanor had grown cold and dismissive, leaving Chloe feeling unsupported in their shared responsibilities. Their relationship, once built on mutual admiration for hands-on work, now seemed like a fragile facade. Hudson's parents, still active in their 70s, frequently visited unannounced, further straining the household dynamic. They often undermined Chloe's efforts, dismissing her business as a mere hobby and failing to acknowledge the seriousness of Ruby's severe shellfish allergy. Ruby, their bright and playful 6-year-old daughter, faced life-threatening risks due to her allergy. Despite Chloe's repeated warnings, Hudson's parents viewed the condition as exaggerated. They even suggested that gradual exposure might cure Ruby, putting her life in danger with their ignorance. Hudson, rather than confronting his parents, chose to deflect, leaving Chloe to manage the growing tension alone. Each day felt like a delicate balancing act, protecting Ruby, managing her online store, and navigating the emotional distance with Hudson. Yet, Chloe's resolve remained strong. She was determined to shield her children from harm and carve out a sense of stability amidst the turmoil. In her quiet moments, as she pieced together vibrant beads and threads, Chloe contemplated her next steps. Her family's safety and well-being depended on her strength, and she was prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Hudson's so-called business trips had always seemed routine, but lately, Chloe sensed something amiss. His departures had grown more frequent, and his tone, once indifferent, had turned sharp and condescending. Each time he packed his overnight bag, he issued curt instructions: "Don't bother me with trivial things while I'm gone." His harshness stung, and Chloe couldn't shake the feeling that these trips were more than just work-related. The cracks in their relationship widened as Hudson's behavior became increasingly suspicious. He would return home visibly drained but offered no details about his time away. Chloe's questions were met with irritation, and any attempts at conversation devolved into tense exchanges. It wasn't just his attitude. There were inconsistencies in his stories, unexplained credit card charges, and the faint scent of unfamiliar perfume clinging to his clothes. Chloe's suspicions deepened one afternoon when she received a call from one of Hudson's co-workers. The man, a familiar face from their wedding, apologized for the intrusion but explained that Hudson's father had left important documents at home and Hudson had forgotten to take them to work. Chloe, always willing to help, gathered the papers and delivered them to Hudson's office. At the office, the co-worker thanked her warmly but then made an offhand comment that froze Chloe in her tracks. "Hudson's been taking so much time off lately to care for Ruby. It must be hard balancing work and family." Confused and alarmed, Chloe forced a smile and quickly left. Hudson had never mentioned taking time off for Ruby, and in reality, he often dismissed her health concerns as overblown. This lie felt like a slap in the face. Why would he fabricate such a story? That evening, Chloe confronted Hudson, her voice steady, but her heart pounding. "Your coworker mentioned you've been taking time off for Ruby. What's that about?" Hudson's reaction was immediate. His face hardened, and his words dripped with defensiveness. "It's none of your business," he snapped. "You're always looking for something to blame me for." Chloe knew better than to press further in the moment, but her resolve strengthened. She needed answers, and she wasn't going to get them from Hudson. His deception, once a nagging doubt, had now solidified into a grim certainty. Determined to uncover the truth, Chloe hired a private investigator, dipping into her savings to cover the cost. Weeks later, the investigator returned with a detailed report that shattered any lingering hope she had. Hudson's business trips were elaborate cover-ups for his escapades with a young, confident woman named Layla. They had been meeting at upscale hotels and remote getaways, their affair spanning months. The betrayal cut deep, but Chloe wasn't one to crumble under pressure. Armed with undeniable proof of Hudson's infidelity and lies, she began planning her next move. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about protecting her children from a man who had put his selfish desires above their family. The time for quiet endurance was over. It was time to take control. The afternoon sun cast long shadows as Chloe rushed to finish her work. Mason, her 10-year-old son, was watching over Ruby while she played quietly in the living room. Everything seemed peaceful until Chloe heard Mason's panicked voice.
"Mom."
"Ruby's lips are swelling," he shouted, his voice trembling. Chloe's heart dropped as she sprinted into the room. Ruby was clutching her throat, her face flushed, and her breathing labored. Frantically, Chloe grabbed the EpiPen from the kitchen drawer and administered it, her hands shaking. "It's going to be okay, Ruby," she whispered, though fear gripped her. Within minutes, an ambulance arrived, its sirens blaring. Mason explained that Ruby had eaten some crackers, the same ones she usually enjoyed. Chloe's mind raced. How could this have happened? She had always been meticulous about avoiding allergens. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed that Ruby had suffered a severe anaphylactic reaction. While Ruby rested, Chloe reviewed the packaging Mason had brought along. To her shock, she discovered that the crackers now included a shrimp-flavored variant, cleverly hidden within the same familiar box. Chloe's stomach churned as she realized the potential culprit, Hudson's parents. When Ruby stabilized, Chloe returned home, her anger simmering beneath the surface. Hudson's parents were waiting for her, oblivious to the storm about to break. "How could you?" Chloe demanded, holding up the box of crackers. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Ruby could have died." Hudson's mother waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Chloe, you exaggerate everything. She just needs to build some tolerance. A little exposure never hurt anyone." Chloe's voice rose, her patience gone. "This isn't a game or a phase. Ruby has a life-threatening allergy, and you gave her shrimp crackers without even checking the label." Hudson's father chimed in, his tone condescending. "We've raised kids, Chloe. You're overreacting. Allergies aren't as serious as you think." Chloe stared at them in disbelief, her fury mounting. "You're playing with her life. If you can't respect her needs, you're not welcome here anymore." She felt a surge of resolve. This was the final straw. That night, as she sat beside Ruby's bed, watching her daughter's peaceful sleep, Chloe's thoughts turned to Hudson. He had always defended his parents, brushing off their negligence as harmless ignorance. But this incident highlighted a deeper issue. Hudson's dismissive attitude toward Ruby's health reflected his overall lack of care for their family. Chloe's mind raced with questions. How had her marriage come to this point? Hudson's betrayal, his parents' recklessness, and the growing emotional distance between them weighed heavily on her. She resolved that Ruby's safety and well-being would always come first, even if it meant confronting uncomfortable truths about her marriage. As the moonlight streamed through the window, Chloe made a silent vow. She would no longer tolerate negligence or deceit. Ruby deserved a safe and loving environment, and Chloe was determined to ensure that, no matter what it took. The growing tension in Chloe's home had become unbearable. Hudson's unexplained absences, his dismissive attitude, and the unsettling comment from his coworker about taking time off for Ruby left Chloe with a sinking feeling. She couldn't ignore the mounting evidence of his deceit any longer. Determined to uncover the truth, Chloe made a difficult decision. She would hire a private investigator. It wasn't easy to part with the money she had saved from her handmade accessories business, but the need for clarity outweighed the financial strain. After discreetly meeting with the investigator, Chloe laid out her suspicions, providing details about Hudson's frequent business trips and unexplained behavior. She felt a mix of guilt and anticipation as the investigator assured her that he would uncover the truth. The waiting period was agonizing. Chloe carried on with her daily routine, crafting and caring for her children, while the weight of uncertainty loomed over her. Each time Hudson left for another business trip, Chloe's resolve only strengthened. She needed answers, not just for herself, but for Ruby and Mason, who deserved a stable and secure home. Weeks later, the investigator returned with a detailed report, and Chloe's worst fears were confirmed. Hudson had been engaging in an affair with a younger woman named Layla. The report included photographs of the two at luxury hotels and remote getaways, laughing and sharing intimate moments. Layla, a confident woman in her mid-20s, seemed to embody everything Hudson had distanced himself from at home. Shock and disbelief gripped Chloe as she flipped through the evidence. Every photo and document felt like a dagger to the heart, but her sadness quickly transformed into anger. She had devoted herself to their family, sacrificing her dreams and enduring Hudson's coldness, only to be betrayed so deeply. Yet, amidst the heartbreak, Chloe felt a surge of determination. She wouldn't allow Hudson's selfish actions to define her or jeopardize her children's future. With the investigators' findings in hand, Chloe began planning her next steps. Divorce was no longer a question of if, but when. She resolved to protect her children and build a life free from deception and neglect. The time for quiet endurance had passed. Now, it was time to fight for her family's well-being. With undeniable evidence of Hudson's betrayal in hand, Chloe knew she had to act. The investigator's report, filled with damning photographs and details of his affair with Layla, left no room for doubt. She spent hours poring over every piece of evidence, her emotions shifting between anger, sadness, and resolve. It wasn't just about the affair, it was about Hudson's complete disregard for their family. The next day, Chloe met with a lawyer, clutching the evidence tightly. The lawyer, a calm and empathetic woman named Evelyn, listened intently as Chloe recounted her story. Together, they discussed divorce proceedings, alimony, and custody arrangements. Evelyn emphasized the importance of gathering financial records and documenting Hudson's neglectful behavior, particularly his exploitation of Ruby's allergy as a cover for his absences. Chloe felt a newfound sense of empowerment. This was no longer a hopeless situation. She had options and a plan. Returning home, she began discreetly organizing her life. She documented household expenses, reviewed her bank statements, and secured her earnings from her online business. Every step brought her closer to breaking free from Hudson's deceit. A few days later, Hudson casually announced another weekend business trip. His tone was dismissive, as if daring her to question him. "I'll be gone Saturday and Sunday. Don't call me unless it's an emergency," he said, barely looking up from his phone. Chloe forced a neutral expression, but inside, her suspicions boiled over. She knew exactly where he was going, and this time, she wasn't going to sit idly by. As soon as Hudson left the room, Chloe began researching apartments. She scrolled through listings, searching for a place that would be safe and comfortable for her and the kids. By the end of the day, she had scheduled several viewings for the upcoming weekend. When Saturday morning arrived, Hudson left as expected, his overnight bag slung over his shoulder. Chloe watched from the window, her heart a mix of relief and determination. She cleaned the house quickly, ensuring everything was in order for Mason and Ruby, then headed out to view the apartments. The first few places were disappointing, too small or too far from Ruby's school, but the fourth one felt like a fresh start. It was a bright, spacious apartment in a family-friendly neighborhood, with a small park nearby where Ruby and Mason could play. Chloe could picture herself building a new life there, free from the shadow of Hudson's lies. By Sunday evening, she had made her decision. She called Evelyn to update her on the progress and began preparing to break the news to Mason and Ruby. Though the path ahead was uncertain, Chloe felt ready. She had spent years holding the family together, but now it was time to prioritize their happiness and safety. With each step, she moved closer to reclaiming her life, determined to give her children the love and stability they deserved. Saturday evening had been calm until Ruby began to complain of a tingling sensation in her mouth. Chloe's heart raced as she noticed Ruby's lips swelling and her breathing growing shallow. Recognizing the signs of anaphylactic shock, she immediately administered Ruby's EpiPen and called 911. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived, and Ruby was rushed to the hospital. Mason sat beside his sister, holding her hand, his face pale with worry. As they sped to the hospital, Chloe repeatedly dialed Hudson's number, but each call went unanswered. She left frantic messages, her voice breaking as she explained the situation. "Hudson, it's Ruby. She's in the hospital. Call me back." But there was no response. At the hospital, the doctors stabilized Ruby, explaining that her reaction had been severe but treatable thanks to Chloe's quick actions. Sitting by Ruby's bed, Chloe felt a surge of both relief and frustration. Where was Hudson? Why hadn't he answered her calls? As she stepped out of Ruby's room to get some air, Mason pointed to the television in the waiting room. A breaking news report showed the aftermath of a car accident on a winding mountain road. The mangled vehicle looked eerily familiar. Chloe's breath caught as the reporter mentioned the names of the injured, Hudson Carter and a female passenger, Layla Foster. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. Hudson had been heading to one of his secret getaways with Layla when the accident occurred. Chloe felt a mix of anger and vindication. His lies had finally caught up with him, and his actions had put not only their marriage, but also his own safety at risk. The hospital's receptionist approached Chloe with a message. Hudson had listed her as his emergency contact. "Mrs. Carter, your husband is in surgery but stable. The doctors will update you shortly," the woman said sympathetically. Chloe clenched her fists, her mind swirling with emotions. Hudson's betrayal now felt like a weight she could no longer carry. She returned to Ruby's side, stroking her daughter's hair as she slept. Mason sat quietly, his small frame tense with unspoken questions. "Mom, is Dad going to be okay?" Mason finally asked. Chloe sighed, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "He'll be fine, Mason. Right now, we need to focus on Ruby." Chloe knew the time for confronting Hudson would come, but for now, her priority was ensuring Ruby's recovery. Hudson's lies had brought them to this point, but Chloe resolved that they would not define her family's future. She had clarity now, and with it, the strength to protect her children and carve out a new path for them. As Ruby recovered in her hospital bed, Chloe's anger simmered, fueled by the day's revelations. She knew the time had come to confront Hudson's parents, whose negligence had nearly cost Ruby her life. Armed with the investigators' report and evidence of their reckless actions, Chloe returned home, where Hudson's parents were waiting anxiously on the porch. Chloe wasted no time. "Your carelessness almost killed Ruby," she began, her voice steady but cold. She held up the box of shrimp-flavored crackers, now sealed in a plastic bag as evidence. "You ignored everything I've told you about her allergy, and she ended up in the hospital because of it." Hudson's mother dismissed her accusations with a wave. "You're being dramatic, Chloe. It's just food, she'll outgrow it." Chloe's fury erupted. "Outgrow it? She nearly died today. You've dismissed her condition time and again, and now I've had enough." She pulled out the investigator's dossier. "And let's not forget your son's business trips. Hudson's been having an affair with this woman, Layla. I have all the proof, right here." The color drained from their faces as Chloe slammed the file onto the table. "I'm filing for divorce, and I'll be seeking full custody of Ruby and Mason. You and Hudson will face legal consequences for your negligence and lies. I've had enough of your disregard for my children's safety." Before they could respond, Chloe continued, her tone laced with bitter triumph. "And as for Layla, she's not just any woman. She's tied to a crime family, a fact Hudson conveniently ignored while risking everything to be with her." Hudson's father scoffed, but Chloe pressed on. "The investigator found everything. Her family's influence runs deep, and Hudson's entanglement with her could bring far more trouble than he bargained for. She's not just a mistress. She's a liability." The weight of Chloe's words silenced them. Chloe felt a newfound strength as she turned to leave. "This ends now. You've endangered my family for the last time." Hudson's parents stared after her, their confidence shattered. Chloe's resolve was unshakable, and her actions set the stage for Hudson's downfall. What began as betrayal had spiraled into a dangerous web of deceit, but Chloe was ready to break free, determined to protect her children and reclaim her life. With the divorce finalized, Chloe felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The weight of Hudson's lies and betrayal had lifted, and she could finally focus on what truly mattered, her children. She moved into the bright, cozy apartment she had chosen, and with each box unpacked, the space began to feel like home. Her handmade accessory business, once a modest venture, began to flourish. Orders poured in as her unique designs gained popularity, providing both financial stability and a renewed sense of purpose. Mason and Ruby thrived in the new environment. Ruby, free from the stress of negligence, made remarkable progress in managing her health. With Chloe's unwavering care and attention, her episodes of allergic reactions became rare, and her confidence grew. Chloe embraced this new chapter with gratitude. Her days were filled with laughter, creativity, and moments of quiet joy. She taught her children the importance of resilience and self-worth, instilling in them the strength to face life's challenges. Though the road had been difficult, Chloe found peace in knowing she had built a safe, loving home for her family. With every passing day, she focused on their bright future, determined to fill their lives with happiness and hope.